Hello, everybody. While we are waiting for people to join this group, let me introduce myself and share some news with you. And then if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. It means that I can represent people with their immigration needs, helping them with their immigration application, ETA applications, visa applications like TRV, work permit, study permit, etc. I have been in practice for the past 10 years independently. Prior to that, I was studying immigration studies, and I also was collaborating with another immigration consultant. I have represented immigrants and applicants from 50 countries. Last week, we had the first client from Tanzania, and that marked our 50th country. My clients have been coming from all over the world. Some of the countries that I can just remember, of course, Canada, the United States of America, Mexico, Colombia, in Europe, Brazil, in Europe, the United Kingdom, Norway, Germany, you name it, Italy, and in Africa, from Egypt, from South Africa, from Nigeria and other countries, in Asia, from India, from Iran, from China, from Japan, from Turkey, Iraq, and many other countries. And of course, from Oceania, from Australia, and New Zealand, and Samoa, and other countries. So that has been my practice. I'm still waiting for people to join. I'm the author of a bestseller book. Oh, where is my book? So this is my book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. This has been identified as the bestseller under the immigration law on Amazon.ca. If you want to know how to purchase it, just go on Amazon and look up for 88tips.ca or visit 88tips.ca. Sorry, look for 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada or visit 88tips.ca. I'm also an instructor at Ashton College. I teach immigration consulting over there, and some of my students are other immigration consultants and immigration lawyers that they attend some of my advanced classes, and I teach them how to enhance their practice. But many of my students are those people who want to become future immigration consultants. Okay, that's enough about me. The big news in the market is the recent developments in the field of immigration to Canada, and that's the latest draw of Express Entry. For those of you who don't know, Express Entry is a system of immigration for three major immigration options to Canada: federal skilled worker class. These are the people who have work experience outside Canada. They are highly educated, and they also know English or French languages very well. These people can apply. If you meet the minimum requirements, then you can enter the pool of Express Entry, and the minimum requirements include, for example, your English language needs to be CLB 7. You need to have at least 1 year of work experience under NOC 0A or B, and also you need to evaluate your education through ECA or Educational Credential Assessment in Canada. And then you need to receive 67 points out of the existing 100 points, and that's when you can apply for immigration under federal skilled worker class. However, you need to enter the pool of Express Entry and compete with the rest of people. The second group is called Canadian Experience Class, And that's for those people that in the past 3 years they had at least 1 year of work experience under a NOC 0A or B job inside Canada. That work cannot be self-employed, or for example, work while they were studying in Canada, they are not accepted, or co-op work. But if they have enough work experience in Canada with a valid work permit, then they could apply for immigration to Canada under Canadian experience class. They also need to take English tests or French tests, and their language level, if their work experience in Canada was NOC B, is a CLB 5. If it's a NOC 0 or A, then it's CLB 7. And these are the minimums. They can enter the pool of express entry. The third group are federal skilled trades class. These are people that they are skilled trades. They have at least 2 years of work experience in the past 5 years, and they have a job offer in Canada, or if they don't have a job offer, they have a certificate from an authority in a province of Canada that they can practice in skilled trades. And by skilled trades, I mean, for example, welders, chefs, butchers, and plumbers, and similar works, mechanics, those kind of jobs. So these people, they can also enter the pool of express entry. They also need to take IELTS test. The IELTS test is a little bit easier for them. It's not exactly CLB 5 because they can go below CLB 5 and CLB 4 on their writing and reading, but for speaking and listening, they need to be CLB 5 or higher. When all these people enter the pool of express entry, there is a system of scoring. It's called CRS, or Comprehensive Ranking System. The government automatically calculates their points based on their education, based on whether they have a job offer in Canada or not, based on their age, knowledge of English or French languages, their work experience inside Canada, outside Canada, some adaptability features, for example, having a sister or brother in Canada, or education in Canada, and also some other elements like being invited by a province to apply. And then they receive a point, and that's called a score, or CRS score. And the higher your CRS score, then every 2 weeks or so, the government runs a draw and invites the people with highest scores to apply. And then, of course, after that, you need to submit your documents, provide all the evidence. If they are convinced, they're supposed to, in 6 months, make you permanent residents. In reality, it doesn't happen for many people. My experience, I've had clients that they were processed under 6 months. I think my record is like 5 months. But generally speaking, majority of my clients are being processed between 12 months to 18 months. Many of my clients are processed under 12 months, but again, some people are processed, actually, probably most of them are probably processed at the 13 months mark or 14 months mark. And it depends, of course, the complexity of your case. That's why it could be longer for you to be processed or shorter for you to be processed. Anyways, the lowest CRS score, the last time that we had a draw, that they invited Canadian experience class only. So they didn't invite federal skilled worker class or the federal skilled trades class, was 454, I believe. And it was on January 21st, 2020, and the last 2021, sorry. And the last time that we had a draw that they invited everybody, that was in December, and the lowest score was 468. Okay, so keep that in mind, 468. And the maximum that you could receive is, by the way, 1,200. So this is what happened just yesterday. Yesterday, and by the way, usually they used to invite 2,500 people per draw. Then suddenly the government, because they wanted to bring more express entry people to Canada, the government decided to increase the number of invitations in November, October, and that's why they increased the number from 2000, typical 2,500 to 3,500 to suddenly 5,000 invitations per round of invitation, which is huge. But guess what? Something weird happened yesterday. Instead of inviting 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, they suddenly invited 27,332 people. So yesterday, the government suddenly invited 27,332 people to apply under express entry. All the invitations were for Canadian experience class. So think about that. All the invitations, Canadian experience class. No federal skilled worker. But this is where it gets crazy. They claim that the lowest score for somebody who was invited was 75, which to me doesn't sound right, because the number of people who were in the pool of express entry and their scores were 450 or more, they were 53,000 people. So even if we say half of those people they were Canadian experience class, then we expect the lowest score be around 450 or maybe 430 or 400, not going lower than 400. So I'm not quite sure why they say the lowest score was 75. It is still confusing to me. I also went on the CRS calculator on their website and tried to find a candidate that gets the lowest score, but yet qualifies for Canadian experience class. And the lowest score I got was 87 based on their own calculators. So technically speaking, you cannot have only 75 points and even qualify for Canadian experience class. So I think that score, there's a mistake on that score. But in terms of the number of people, they literally they've invited more than 27,000. What does it say about the rest of immigration options? It basically says that the government's focus will be on express entry this year, and most likely on, of course, you can ask a question, Aden. And it will be mostly on express entry and mostly on Canadian experience class, because they want to encourage the students inside Canada to become permanent residents and do not leave Canada. Currently, we have around 600 to 700,000 international students in Canada. And of course, some of them are still studying. I mean, all of them are studying, but they will finish their studies very soon. Many of them qualify for postgraduate work permit, which is a open work permit that you can receive after finishing your studies. And those people want to stay in Canada, work in Canada, and eventually apply for permanent residence. And the government wants to receive like 400,000 immigrants per year. So even if they dedicate all their efforts to absorbing those international students who have recently graduated from Canada, then we don't even have enough room for all those students. So that's probably why they have turned their attention so much on Canadian experience class, just to keep those students satisfied that there is a future for you to become permanent residents in Canada. But so Adan, if you want to ask your question, please just type it here and I will answer your question. But for those of you who have applied under other programs, you probably face delays because many of the visa posts outside Canada, they are closed, and that means that the processing is very slow. I have these issues with visa posts in India, visa posts in Turkey, visa offices in United Arab Emirates, in most of the countries. Unfortunately, I see problems in terms of uh, uh, processing of applications. The only exception is um, for spouses or common law partners, that the government decided to increase their workforce by 66% for spouses or common law partners last year, and they are kind of processing them on time. And for spousal applications, they are supposed to be processed in 12 months. Nowadays, they process most of those applications under 18 months, but some of them may go beyond 18 months. Okay. Okay, so I have a question here. My documents have approved from NVC, and I am from Djibouti, and my location is Ethiopia. I get email from NVC on November 12th, and how long should I have wait to contact them? Spouse visa F21. Are you quite sure you're asking this question about immigration to Canada? Because we don't have F21 visa for spouses or NVC. I think it's probably an application for the United States. Or if it's not for the United States, please elaborate on what do you mean by F21 visa. We don't name visas like that in Canada. Hi, Breck. Okay, so that's about spousal cases. Oh, no worries. No, I don't know anything about immigration to the United States. My focus is immigration to Canada. Group of 5 sponsors. The last information that I have, and by the way, I don't do resettlement, just to be clear, but the last set of statement that I have currently, because of the situation of coronavirus, and unfortunately, Canada so far has not been vaccinated many people. So we still have a lot of limitations in terms of travelers to Canada. So most of the, or almost all resettlement programs are on pause, and that includes the group of 5. Okay. So with a group of 5, unfortunately, you cannot come to Canada yet. You have to wait for the borders to open. Again, I have to emphasize, I'm not the best person to ask me questions about resettlement. I just happen to know, because I follow the news, the best organization to communicate with would be the immigration authorities themselves. So the other question, I applied last April. I'm still waiting for my work permit from Breck. Yes, unfortunately, that's true. Many of the visa offices, they are not working properly. I also have clients that they have been waiting for their work permits from last year. And that's worrisome, because some of them, they need to reach Canada quickly. Then some of them already purchased businesses in Canada, started businesses, and they don't process their applications. And we keep asking the visa offices to expedite the process, and most of the time they don't. And the other issue is that sometimes nowadays they sometimes refuse applications because of the um, uh, a weird reason. They say that the work situation in your own country has changed, and that's why you want to come to Canada and exploit our system, or that's why you want to come to Canada and stay in Canada forever or illegally. and for that reason they refuse some of the work permit applications, not all of them, but some of the work permit applications. So unfortunately, it's more difficult to get a positive answer, and it's almost impossible to get an answer in a timely fashion. Nowadays, for example, they reduce the processing time for people from India to 13 weeks on their website. So on their website, it says, if you are from India, your work permit application will be processed in 13 weeks. But we have clients that they have been waiting for the past 40 weeks and nothing. So that's unfortunate, but exists. Okay, the next one, I applied inland. Okay, so for inland cases, the good news is that you have at least implied the status. So if you had a work permit and you applied for an extension of your work permit, you have implied the status and you may continue to work. However, if you are worried about your work permit, or for example, they don't renew your health card, you encounter those kinds of issues, my advice to you is to communicate with the immigration authorities through IRCC web form. Okay, I just type it here, IRCC web form. I have actually a video about IRCC web form, and you can also watch that video. So let me just locate it on my website and share it here. IRCC web form. Okay, here we go. So this is the link to how you can use IRCC web form. Just go on IRCC web form and ask them about the status of your application, and sometimes they do answer, you know. But generally speaking, it's very sad. I have some cases that they have been waiting even for a simple file number, and they don't issue the file numbers for them. So it's very sad, but it exists. Okay, the next question. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum assalam. Hi, sir. I'm from Sri Lanka. Allah bless you. Thank you very much. Same to you. Okay. So the other issue that while I'm waiting to see if there are any other questions. So we talked about express entry and the craziness over there. We don't know when they will run a draw and they will invite federal skilled worker class. I have some clients waiting in line for their federal skilled worker class to be invited. Some of them, they have very good points, but still nothing. And the same thing for federal skilled trades program. Nothing on that front. We talked about family reunification and spousal. The other one is parental sponsorship. If you're sponsoring your parents or grandparents to Canada, there's a draw system, and they invite, this year they intend to invite 30,000 people to apply, but they haven't opened the applications yet. So you need to wait for them to open the applications, and then you can apply. Okay, so if I get, there's another question. So if I get a valid job offer from Saskatchewan or Manitoba, how much funds do I need? Sask website says 90 days funds. I don't get it. What's the relationship between 90 days and funds? But generally speaking, when you have a job offer, most provincial programs and federal programs, they exempt you from funds. In other words, you don't need to show any settlement funds if you have a job offer in Canada. Regardless, both provinces and the federal government, they ask for your bank account. Okay, they just want to see that do you have money at all? But if you have a job offer, then you usually are exempt from settlement funds in Canada. But if you do want to show settlement funds, it is in your best interest that your settlement funds are based on LICO table. And if you look LICO 2021, for example, my article is the first one on Google. but here I share the link with you. So this table, if you go on this link, I don't know if you can click links. Yes, you can. So if you go on this link, it will show you the table. For example, for one person, a LICO for 6 months, which is usually for most express entry and other skilled immigration, for one person is about let me just look it up here. Yeah, it's about $12,961, or let's say $13,000 for 2 people, $16,000 for 3 people, and close to $20,000, and so on. And these are Canadian funds. You need to have them. About the 90 days thing, I think you are referring to a 90-day bank statement. They just want to make sure that your bank statement, you didn't just borrowed money from your friends or family and you put it in the bank account to claim that as your own money. That's why they ask for fluctuations of your bank in the past 90 days, just to make sure that that the money was there for a while in your account. So if you have a sudden deposit in your bank account, you need to prove that the source of that sudden deposit is you. For example, you sold your car and you deposited that, and you need to provide those documents as well. But generally speaking, if you have a job offer, you are exempt from showing the settlement funds unless the province persists on that. Okay, so the next question. Do you have any videos about Group 5 sponsoring the processing and how long it takes? It's my first time sponsoring and I don't know how much. So I don't have anything specific for Group of 5. I do have an article about resettlement to Canada, but to be honest with you, it's very brief because, again, partly because I don't practice refugee resettlement. I just study it. But here you go. This is the link to resettlement. You can click it and read it. It gives you a little bit information. Okay, so the next question from Kiro King. Hi, sir. I want to ask, what if I have LMIA and a job offer and did not land yet in Canada? Can I apply for PMP or express entry? I want to ask, what if, oh, it's okay, the same question. So this, you don't need to repeat your question 10 times. I will read it. Don't worry about it. So the answer, simple answer, is that if you have an approved LMIA for permanent residency, then you can use that towards your basically express entry points as a job offer. So if your job offer is LMIA based, then you can use it to receive some points in express entry system. And that number of points, if your job is NOC 0A or B, it will be 50 points. If it's NOC 00, then you will receive 200 points. For PNP, it depends on the province. So some of the provinces expect you that you work in their province for a while, then receive a job offer. Some they don't. So it depends on the case. And the next question, on applying from outside Canada, I got job offer and my NOC has no median wage in the province. So what should be the wage? I should ask the employer. I mean, minimum wage required to the job letter. So if the NOC, the first thing that you need to look at on Job Bank is the regional one. If there is a median wage for the region, for example, if you are going to work in, say, Toronto, then you need to look at Toronto region wage, and your wage needs to be equal or greater than the wage for Toronto. Now, imagine that for the region that you are working, you don't have a median wage. Job Bank doesn't post median wage. Then you need to look at the province, whatever median wage has. In this, my example, the median wage for Ontario. If there is no wages posted for Ontario, then or the province that you are targeting, then you need to look at Canada. And for Canada, we definitely have a median wage, and then use that as your. And actually, I just recently published an article about prevailing wage and also a video. So you can watch that video on YouTube. You can read the article on my website. If I click here, you go on that link, you see both the article and video, and you can learn more how to calculate your prevailing wage. Okay. So the next question is, the next question is again from Rhys Hale. From Saskatchewan, employer offer PMP. How much time will it take for the approval letter for employer and my PR process to land and work in Canada? So basically for LMIA applications, it's very tricky nowadays. And especially if the LMIA application is for permanent residents, it will go to one single office. So it doesn't matter where your employer is. It goes to one single office of ESTC, and they review all PR LMIAs, and then they decide whether to issue that or not. If it's for the purpose of work permit, it will be processed locally. But the processing time, usually for LMIA applications, when you have submitted a complete package, it's usually between 1 to 3 months. Especially if the employer is a new employer, it takes a longer time. Sometimes your employer's representative, immigration consultant or lawyer, they can request an expedite of the process. If the expedite is approved, then what will happen is that they will process the LMI application even in 2-3 days. Okay. Nowadays, with the situation of coronavirus, it's tricky. And it could take weeks before they process LMIA. Now, if you receive a neutral or positive LMIA letter, now you need to apply for work permit. And unfortunately, because of coronavirus, even if you're visa exempt, you cannot come to the port of entry and apply for work permit. So you need to apply online. And the online processing of applications takes a very long time, unless you encourage the immigration authorities to expedite your process, or you get lucky. Sometimes you submit the application and in a month they process the application. Sometimes you submit the application and it takes them 10 months, 12 months to process the application. So there's not much control over that. However, when you receive the submit the application, you can push it. Of course, if your application is under the global talent stream, then that's a different story, because they process the applications usually under a month. So that's pretty quick, sometimes even in 2 weeks. So the next question. Hi, good morning, sir. This is one of your fans from Africa. Oh, thank you very much, Christopher Andrew. I love your programs. May God bless you, brother. Thank you very much, Christopher. I wish you the best. I have never been to Africa, and that's one of the things that I regret the most. So I will be someday. I don't know which African country you're from, but I really love, and I've had clients from northern to southern and even middle Africa. All over Africa, I've had clients, and it's so sad that I've never been there. So one day I will be there. Okay, the next one. My problem is, so this is about resale again. My problem is employer said he will give me $14 per hour. I think median Sask wage is $26. So that's called exploitation, unfortunately. The employer is not allowed to offer a salary that is less than the prevailing wage, period. They cannot do that. If they do, then ESTC will not approve the LMIA. So you don't even reach the point to apply for a work permit, because ESTC will refuse the LMIA application. So the minimum wage that you receive must be the prevailing wage of the region. As I mentioned, if you don't have the prevailing wage of the region, then it needs to be the prevailing wage of the province. If you don't have the prevailing wage of the province, it needs to be the prevailing wage of Canada. They cannot offer you anything lower. And there is a reason for that, because they don't want, imagine I'm an employer here in Canada and I hire somebody from outside Canada. A Canadian asks for $26 per hour, but I can hire somebody from outside Canada for $14 per hour. So what I'm basically doing, I am abusing the system and I'm taking away a position from a Canadian or a permanent resident of Canada because I can bring in cheaper labor from outside Canada. And the government doesn't want that. That's why if somebody tries to do that, they will refuse the LMIA application. Now, sometimes what the employer does, it's a trick that they say, oh, on the paper, I will write down $26, but in reality, I will pay you only $14. So this is not an acceptable practice. Actually, ESTC randomly and sometimes at the instruction of IRCC runs audits of those employers to make sure that the salary that they are offering is actually the salary that's expected to be paid. Okay, so it's very important that because if they find out that they were not giving you the proper salary, then they fine that those employers, and the fines could be anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 or $10,000 per incident, and up to $1 million per year. In certain circumstances, they could even consider those exploitation human trafficking. They just recently actually got 6 people and they charged them with human trafficking. And for human trafficking, the employer could receive up to lifetime in prison and up to $1 million in fines. And with the foreign national, if you make those arrangements with the employer and they find out that you were part of the scheme, there is a chance that you basically be excluded from Canada, or they remove you from Canada with an exclusion order. So it's a very dangerous game, but many people play it. Okay. So I don't know about the specifics of the job offer that you are receiving. Obviously, if I'm your consultant and or that employer decides to hire me as their consultant, then we will definitely look into the specifics of the job. This is some extensive work on our behalf to make sure that what would be the exact or correct wage that they have to offer to you, and based on that wage, whether this is considered a high wage job or low wage job. Because if it's a low wage job, then the processing will be different, and the kind of documents that you need to present are different. So it all depends on that. Okay. So, and again, if you have a different job and prevailing job is lower, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Hi, sir. Thanks for answering my question. I have a follow-up question. Do the employers have power to hold your express entry or PNP application, or the employer don't want to support your PR application? Thanks. So, no, because a PR application, I mean, generally speaking, if you receive a job offer and you submit your application, this is between you and the immigration authorities. This is not between you and the employer. So if there are any issues between you and the employer, then the worst that they could do is to report that they don't support an offer, or they don't extend an offer to you anymore. And then it will be at the discretion of the immigration officer whether to deduct your points for express entry or not, or PNP or not. So if there is no job, so in other words, if your immigration to Canada depends on a job offer, then there is a chance that by pulling their invitation, they could actually make you impossible to immigrate to Canada. So that could potentially happen. But generally speaking, your relationship with immigration authorities is a direct relationship, and it has nothing to do with the employer other than the job offer that they are offering you. Okay, it's usually like that. Okay, next question. Keep on informing me when the government of Canada is going to lift travel restrictions. I will travel to meet you live in Canada since I already have visitor's visa 9 months ago. Wow, that's amazing. Sure. I will talk about it. So recently, the government actually made it even more difficult for people to travel to Canada. So starting from February 22nd, if you are traveling to Canada, even if you're a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, if you're traveling to Canada, first of all, you need to have test results in the past 72 hours that shows that your COVID-19 was negative. So that's number one, a negative COVID-19 test in the past 72 hours. The next thing is that they have an app called ArriveCan. You need to install that app, and with that app, you need to report when you are quarantining, what's your plan for quarantine, and et cetera, et cetera. When you arrive at the airport on February 22nd, and after that, they will run another test on you, another COVID test, and then they will send you to a hotel. And you have to pay $2,000 for that hotel for 3 days. You stay in that hotel for 3 days. And if your test results are negative after those 3 days, then you need to continue self-quarantining outside that hotel for another 11 days. But if your test results are positive, then they will transfer you to a government-run facility to make sure that you won't have any negative or any danger for Canadians in terms of health. So that's the plan starting from February 22nd. And as you can see, it makes it impossible for people to, almost impossible for people to travel to Canada. On top of that, there will be only four airports available for international travels to Canada. The Vancouver Airport, Calgary Airport, Toronto Airport, and Montreal Airport. So all other airports in Canada will be closed to international flights for a while. So the situation will become worse, unfortunately, in terms of traveling to Canada, at least in the next 2 or 3 months. But hopefully, when we have enough people vaccinated, and probably we'll see some positive movements in June or July. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So my LMIA is on process and waiting for my job offer. My consultancy told me that I need to be in Canada at least 3 months before I apply for PMP or express entry. Is that true? Thanks again. So I don't know about the exact circumstances surrounding your work permit, so I cannot comment on that because I may give you the wrong answer. But if your immigration consultant is an educated person, then probably what they are telling you is correct about your case, because there are so many different scenarios in terms of work permit in Canada. Okay, but generally speaking, when you have a job offer for PR and it is supported by LMIA, then you may apply for express entry and use the points for that. Does this plan also apply US-Canada land border? So that's a good question. So the land borders are not closed for sure, what I can tell you. So I mean, they are closed, but not closed. It means that you can travel to Canada only for discretionary purposes. So if there are discretionary purposes, for example, you are visiting your spouse or your your children, then in those situations, you can travel from US, Canada. But in terms of the non-discretionary travels, then in that situation, you cannot travel even through the land border. And in those situations, yes, they are close to. They have shut down some of the land crossings that they were less populated, generally speaking. But most of land crossings right now are open, or at least most of major land crossings are open. Now, in terms of going to the mandatory hotel thing, I don't know the answer to that one. That's a very good question, but I don't know if you are land crossing, you also need to go to a hotel or not. I assume yes, but maybe this is the wrong assumption. Okay. Oh, I see Zaidi has posted $5.49 Canadian for me. Oh, thank you very much. You don't need to send me money, but thank you. Is there a program for new caregivers via LMIA? Thanks. No. So there was when you come as a caregiver with an LMIA in Canada, then either you need to transition to the caregiver pilot program for permanent residents, or you need to apply under express entry. There was a pilot program for LMI-based caregivers in 2019, and they accepted some clients over a course of about 2-3 months, and they stopped it. So right now, that one is closed. They do not accept permanent residents under that specific LMIA-based caregiver pilot program. But there is another caregiver pilot program. If you qualify for that, then you can switch over to that program, and through that program become permanent residents. The major difference was that the old program, you only needed to show 1 year of work experience in Canada. But with this new program, you need to show 2 years of work experience in Canada. So it's a little bit tougher. The alternative option for somebody who is a caregiver but highly educated, knows English or French language as well, then maybe you could apply for permanent residence. But unfortunately, the caregiver is a NOC job, so it doesn't qualify you for Canadian experience class. So you need to find other options. Okay. Okay. Just give me a second. I want to double check something. Okay. That's interesting. They haven't. I was just trying to see what happens if. Okay. Yeah. So they try to be very silent about the employer-employee relationship in terms of express entry application. And I think they are doing that just to avoid abuses by the employers, because some employers may abuse people because of that. So hello, Mr. Parsai. I would like to know if I would be eligible for the new program put together for asylum seeker that worked in healthcare if my contract began on June 2019 and they called me October. So I believe, first of all, Mr. Zaidi, thank you for that money that was posted. This is the first time for me, so thank you very much. So for this new program, I have to refresh my memory before I answer your question, because you had to accumulate some number of working hours for. Let me just bring it here just to make sure. So the requirements is that you filed a claim before March 13th, 2020. And based on what you are saying, you filed your claim in 2019, which it qualifies you. Then you need to have received an open work permit. The third one is that you worked in the healthcare. And by healthcare, it means that in hospitals, long-term care homes, assisted living facilities, home care through an agency or an organization. And the big one is this one, which it looks like that you didn't qualify because you need to accumulate at least 120 hours between March 13th, 2020 and August 14th, 2020, which looks like that you didn't accumulate those hours. So if you didn't, unfortunately, you do not qualify for this pathway. Having said that, if they haven't decided about your case yet, uh, being part of the healthcare program will enhance your chances of success. I mean, if I'm your immigration consultant, I will present enough documentation to show that you actually contributed to the healthcare system. And that will assist you with the approval by RPD. But if you have accumulated 120 hours between March 13th, 2020 and August 14, 2020, and the job positions are like this: orderlies or assistant orderlies, nurses or nurses aides, patient service associates, and some home support workers. And those home support workers are people that they work actually in a facility. And then you need to at least also accumulate 6 months of work before you are granted PR status. And if you are in Montreal or anywhere in Quebec, you also need to receive a CSQ first. But if you're outside Quebec, it's a different story. Okay, and you need to meet that 6 months period of work experience by August 31st. So I hope that helps. Again, it depends on, so when you worked as a service aide in healthcare, you must see if it was between March 13th, 2020 to August 31st, 2020, that you worked at least 120 hours. That's the big one. That 120 is the big one. Okay. So the next question is by Christopher. For your clarification, do asylum seekers to Canada have to go through all these restriction requirements? Hence, one is running away from a dangerous situation. No, Christopher. So this is what we are talking is a special pathway for certain asylum seekers in Canada. So if somebody is an asylum seeker in Canada and that person worked for healthcare system in the first few months of the coronavirus here in Canada, then the government decided not to take them to the court system. So they said, you don't need to go to Refugee Protection Division and present your case because of your contributions, we give you permanent residency. So this is a special perk for certain asylum seekers in Canada. For regular asylum seekers, when you come to Canada and you file for asylum, then you need to fill out some forms and application and provide documents. Then your application will go to Immigration Refugee Board of Canada. There are two divisions under Immigration Refugee Board of Canada. The big one is Refugee Protection Division. A Refugee Protection Division is like a court. They invite you for a hearing, and you will talk to a member of RPD, and that person asks you a lot of questions. If they are convinced that you are actually defined under Section 96 or 97 of the Act, then they will allow you to become protected people and eventually apply for permanent residence. But with this pathway, you don't need to go through that court system. You immediately can apply for permanent residence, and that's a big one for that. But that one was just for a group of people that they worked in the healthcare sector as refugees between March and August 2020. Okay. So going back to so please, I need to contact your office. Of course, if you want to contact our office, obviously we are not open today. Today is Sunday. I'm just here working from home. But this is the link to the contact information of our website. By all means, you can get in touch with our office and contact us between Monday and of course, if you contact through the online forms, you can contact at any time. So the next question, Mike, thank you for your time. Yes, I work as a service aide. Yes, we had contract that began on June. Within, I contributed and I was ready and able to work. Yeah, but the question is, did you work, Zaidi? Because if you didn't work, if you didn't accumulate, and that you need to go back to the employer and see if they say that yes, you worked for them for at least 120 hours before August 31st. If you don't have that work letter, unfortunately, you cannot apply under this program. But as I mentioned, because you have joined the healthcare force and you are contributing to the healthcare in these difficult times, you can use that in your hearing. So if you do not qualify for the pathway, you can use it for your hearing, and it will definitely help you. Okay. If the position of the applicant who is applying for food service supervisor, but his employment certificate indicates acting food service supervisor, is this could be have an effect on his application? Okay, so I cannot look. We are getting into details of your application. LMIA application is very complex, but generally, what I can tell you is that if you are basically applying for a work permit or permanent residence, and as part of that, you're applying for LMIA, the job title is not important. Okay. The notch is important. So the classification is important. They can call you anything, but as long as the job that you are doing falls on a specific NOC code, then that's the NOC code. I mean, somebody could call me immigrant. I can call myself, say, now engineer is not a good because it's a protected name. But let's say for the sake of argument, I call myself immigration engineer or immigration doctor, which is not true. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an engineer. But when I apply, it doesn't matter if I call myself immigration doctor. At the end of the day, the officer knows what I'm doing is the job of an immigration consultant. So I will fall under NOC for immigration consultants. Okay. So you have to look at it from that point. Would you be dealing with the ARC application from Middle East exclusion order for 5 years from 2018? Absolutely, yes. I deal with ARC applications. Actually, I just recently submitted an ARC application for a gentleman from Middle East. I've had clients from North America and from Middle East and elsewhere on ARC applications. Yes, I do deal with that. But you need to contact us privately so we can see what's going on with your case and if it has merits for an ARC application. Okay. Okay. So we are, oh, believe it or not, it's 57 minutes. So we are getting closer to the 1 hour mark. There's one more question, and this is the last question I'm going to answer. If asylum seeker crossed from US to Canada with a negative COVID test would be allowed into Canada due to the restriction? So, well, this is a tricky situation because generally speaking, the United States is considered a safe third country. So even if it wasn't for coronavirus, and if you try to cross the border through a port of entry and enter Canada and file for asylum, they will send you back to the United States because you can apply for asylum in the United States. So that's number one. Unless you're exempted. For example, you have a brother or sister who is a Canadian citizen and lives in Canada. The other option for some asylum seekers is that they irregularly cross the border. In other words, they don't go through the port of entry. They just cross the border. They risk their lives, which I highly discourage people to do that, but they come to Canada, and now because they are inside Canada, they can file for asylum. Now, because of the coronavirus situation, it becomes even more complicated because filing for asylum is a non-discretionary activity and doesn't qualify you for even if you are exempted, you cannot apply at the port of entry. So unfortunately, I would say 95% there is no chance for somebody to file for refugee by land crossing through a port of entry right now. Okay. Even in the past, it was very difficult, but right now it's almost impossible. From in Canada and 10 years of experience in construction. I lost my. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could help, Julia. And it's very unfortunate that these things happen, but yeah. We deal with ARC applications. They are very complex kinds of applications, especially if it's a 5-year ban. Then we are dealing with misrepresentation, and misrepresentation is difficult to beat, but that's our job. That's our job to try to beat those and convince the officer to issue an authorization to return to Canada. Okay. I heard 27,000 people are invited for express entry. What do you think about it? So yes, Jamie, I actually, if you, now I will, when I end this stream, I will save it. If you watch my video from the beginning, I talked about it. But yes, they invited 27,332 people, all under the express entry system. So it looks like that they want to heavily invite people under the express entry system. And all of them, they fell under Canadian experience class. They didn't invite anybody under federal skilled worker class or federal skilled trades class, which is weird. What they are doing is weird. Let's put it that way. But I keep my opinion to myself. I just shared a little bit about what is happening. They want to keep the students in Canada happy by making that move, because many of the international students are now invited. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. I will be back. So every Sunday at 10 a.m. Toronto time, Eastern Standard Time, I will be here answering your questions, enjoying being with you. And please support me by considering purchasing my book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. You can visit 88tips.ca to find out about your purchasing option. And if you want to visit our website, it's settler.ca. Please subscribe to our channel, enable notifications, share my videos with others, and that will encourage me to produce more educational videos. Again, thank you very much, and I will be back. Okay, I will be back next week. And by the way, I publish 3 videos per week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I publish new videos. So check out those videos as well. Thank you again. Bye for now. See you next week.